So as many of you know, I'm currently taking classes with Unity Urban Ministerial School with the intent of being ordained as a Unity minister. And one of my classes this semester is Humlity, which is the art of preaching. And for the final assignment don't laugh, okay? The final assignment for this class is to record, thanks to Mark, we're recording, a 10 to 12 minute talk, so you all know it's going to be short and sweet today. And I'm going to post it for the class to see and the instructor to comment on. So, the assignment was actually to draw an idea from the text that we're using. The text is entitled Spirit-Led Preaching. And so as I was looking at it, there were many gems of wisdom there, but I wanted something to jump off the page for me. I wanted something to really grab my attention. And then I came to this section that was entitled Humility and Weakness. I said, no, God. I said, anything but that. But that's the one that grabbed me, and it wouldn't let me go. And that's what happens when Spirit is moving through you. It's directing you. And it just keeps coming back up. Knowing that I was going to do this talk the first Sunday of Advent, I wanted to figure out a way in which I could connect humility and weakness and faith, which is what the first Sunday of Advent is all about. And so I was trying to work on it, and I was trying to figure it out, and did you notice what I just said? I was trying to figure it out. And that's the whole point in humility, isn't it? To know that we cannot do this. We have to step aside. We have to let Spirit come through. So, humility. Humility, this is from the text. Humility embraces weakness as a blessing, not as a burden, and causes us to call on the Lord for help. Metaphysically, we know the Lord is that divine aspect within us. So our weaknesses are blessings because they take us to the prayer edge. Whatever imperfections we may be seen in our life, they bring us to know God in a greater and greater degree. Webster defines humility as the quality of being humble. Yes, and humble is that spirit of submission, expression of submission, if you will. It's reflecting an attitude of submission. It comes from the same root as humus, that organic matter that is made of decomposed plant material that gardeners love because it enriches the soil. Humility enriches our prayer life. When we are humble, we recognize that we of ourselves can do no thing. It is the Father within that does the work. It is that Christ consciousness. So we have faith. Humility and faith work hand in hand. We have faith in our higher self, being humble in our little me, in the little me. So, this is beautifully expressed in the story of Christmas. Specifically today, we're going to talk about the three wise men. And most of us know this story, right? We're going to recap it real quick. The wise men came from the east to Jerusalem. They followed a star. They were looking for the King of the Jews. And when Herod heard this, he got defensive. He felt threatened. And he brought them to him to question them and to try, really, I think the motive, not to go all, psychopop on you, but I think the motive was to see if he could gain them to get on his side, So he questioned them. I believe they saw through him, and they went on their way, following the star and continuing to where Jesus was. Well, talk about faith. Can you imagine starting a journey because a star is leading you there? I mean, first of all, that's pretty amazing. It reminds me of the saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with just one step. That must have been some star. But there is that deeper knowing that we are meant to follow that star. There is that deeper understanding when we are guided, that this is ours to do. And that is what allows us to take that first step. Metaphysically, Fillmore defined the wise men as stored up resources of the soul that rise to the surface when its depths are stirred by a great spiritual revelation. But, as always, we have to kind of sit with Fillmore's definitions and kind of see what that means. To me, this means all the accumulated wisdom, experience, expertise of my lifetime and or lifetimes coming to play when I begin my spiritual journey. When something within me recognizes that there is something that I am connected with all that is. The wisdom of the lifetime helps me. Okay. So, the star, or the east, is symbolic of within. This resource is coming from within. And the Star of Bethlehem symbolizes our inner conviction of our divine sonship and of our ability to accomplish whatever we undertake. So how does that affect the story? Our wise men, the state of consciousness that is the accumulated wisdom of our lifetime, comes from the east, comes from within to follow the star, to follow the inner knowing of our divine heritage. We have help. It's within. It's within us when we start this spiritual journey. On our path of enlightenment, we have help. And that's where the story ends, right? To the Christ. To witnessing that birth. So, let me continue with the story, Matthew 2:10. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Homage. What's the root of that word? Could it be humility? Yes, it is. So this leads us to surrender, when we recognize that there is a power within us that is not of us, a power that is within us that is greater than we are. We become very humble. We recognize it with humility. It leads us to surrender and to offer the gifts that we have, the gold, the frankincense, the myrrh, to allow this spirit to reign supreme. Of Course in Miracles states that trust is the foundation on which our ability to fulfill our function rests. Trust, placing one's faith in knowing the power within us can do the work. This power is not of our own making, but it's what keeps us humble. Our very human experiences, our weaknesses, our imperfections, they encourage us to get out of the way. Yes, they do. Yes. They keep us mindful that we can tap into something greater, that we can allow Spirit to move through us. So when we experience this power, we allow our wise men to go on that journey, on that adventure, that spiritual adventure. Of Course in Miracles asks, who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given him? And who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? Recognizing that, yes, in our humanity, we are that tiny sparrow, yet in our divinity, we are the eagle. One of those wonderful divine paradoxes. We are both. Isn't it time we allow that eagle full reign? Eleanor Roosevelt wrote, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. In faith, we follow our dreams. In humility, we allow God room to work. So I invite you this week, follow your star on this spiritual adventure. Offer your gifts. Thank you for your kind attention. Yeah, that's what we talked about.